The Day Billy Fell Off the Cliff by Byron Broussard. The Day Billy Fell Off the Cliff, Part 18. We all know the book should have ended there, at that moment. You, the voice from outside, and Billy all know that we cannot end only having accomplished happiness. Billy looks at Jessica's image sitting across from his image. They both take a sip of coffee together. We still have things to do, Mee said in her toneless voice. She was sitting on a bar stool on the side of Billy and Jessica, making herself small. Her words seemed to break the spell. I'm glad you said something, Mee. I never would have willingly gone back to work myself, Billy said, looking around the flaming coffee shop. The door opened and a light was visible in the distance. First, I gotta call Team Double L back, he said, stepping towards the coffee shop door. The light got closer, and Lisa's door was again against theirs. That was quick, Jessica said, sighing. She took a sip of coffee and put her head in her arms. Billy smiled at her, then turned to knock on the door. The door opened before Billy could knock. Lee was standing behind the door, waving. Hello again, Lee said in a toneless voice. Lisa was standing a few paces behind Lee with her arms folded. Billy waved at them both, and Lee turned towards Lisa. B and J were doing a BJ, and that's why they sent us away, Lee said in a toneless voice. Lisa burst out laughing. Jessica raised her head from her arms and looked around as if confused. What that kid just say? She asked, facing no one. Mee giggled, and Billy cleared his throat. Yes, Team Double L fits, Billy said in somewhat serious tone over Lisa's laughter. We did disconnect for personal reasons, but since we're all here, Mee and Lee, please tell us about duplicates. Duplicates are a simple explanation with heavy layers of understanding, Lee said, stepping back towards Lisa. Lee was moving 2 chairs closer to the door, so Billy did the same on his side. Billy and Mee sat close to the doorway across from Lisa and Lee. It works in the same manner as time is a barrier between your frequency and your location. Frequency and location being the doubles, Mee continued. It was my question, Jessica said from her spot in the booth. And the royal you is the key to the whole operation, Lee said in a toneless voice, raising his hands in excitement. Your awareness is experiencing time in bodies and allowing for the whole to become parts, Lee finished and put his hands back down. So, because I am me, my intuition is me, and because you are you, your intuition is Lee, Billy said. They both live in the star, but at different times, specifically mine and yours. So we're all different times interacting with each other? Wow, Jessica said in a tone very close to Mee's. She laid her head back in her arms. Billy turned towards her and got up to walk to her. Mee shifted in her seat. Jessica picked up her head and turned in time to see Billy sneaking up on her. Interact with this time, Billy said as he reached out to pat her on the head. Rape, Jessica yelled as her leg kicked out and she slid down in the booth shaking. Billy walked and sat back down next to Mee, who looked uncomfortable. I fucking love you, Billy, Jessica yelled. Lisa stared through the doorway at them, intently. What was that there, Billy? Lisa asked, like she was shopping and talking to a sales assistant. You two didn't have that connection last time I was here. Lee stared at me with a hungry look, and Mee tapped Billy on the arm. Ask the question, Billy, Mee said in a toneless voice. Shit, what realities hang in the balance of being ruined? Billy asked Mee with a frozen feeling creeping up his spine. Lisa looked confused. Your relationship with Jessica, Mee said in a short sentence. How do I keep that possibility safe, me? Billy asked, getting serious. Seems to me that if you tell me what just happened between the two of you, your whole relationship will be ruined. I hope you look out for my future interests in the same way, Lee, Lisa said, waving the question away. It's fine. I can tell you what it is now. The only thing is that I have to warn you that you will have to find another partner to practice the technique with, Billy said, glancing at me for reassurance. Lee relaxed in his seat. We connected on a level of limitless shared interests in each other. It translated into sexual energy, and now we can get a full blast of limitless trust and sexual energy on contact, Billy said, feeling out the words as he spoke them inside his head. So, there was a danger of us connecting on some deep limitless level that would have ended your relationship. Interesting, Lisa said with a hand to her chin. They will figure it out with or without us, so what was the danger, Lee? Lee looked at me before answering. The danger was that me and I could have possibly ended up forming into one being, solidifying you and Billy as one with one intuition in this time. Billy has asked the question, and now they know that Jessica will have to manifest her intuition to take the next real step, Lee said in a toneless voice. Lisa's face was in a pout. Do you even want to manifest your intuition and take the next step, Jessica? Lisa said, waving her hand as if dismissing what she herself was saying. Lisa said, waving her hand as if dismissing what she was herself saying. No, don't listen to me. I have no right to barge into your beautiful progress. You all have already given me so much. Lisa clasped both her hands together, and Jessica stood and walked towards the doors. We got the perfect person for you to fuck with, Jessica said, smiling. His name is Rick, and he will totally fall for your superior will. He does anything Billy says because Billy brought more options to the world. Jessica stood by me and placed her hand on her shoulder. And you are like the female Billy. Lisa smiled sheepishly. This is too good to be true, Lisa said. Lee reached over and hugged her. The reality where Jessica was forced to form with Rick was a really rough one, me whispered in relief. The process must be simple then, right? Lisa asked me. Yes, both parties must agree on one intention with their intuitions present, Lee answered. Jessica and Billy connected on mutual trust and attraction, me said. If Jessica's intuition was present, I would have had the opportunity to form with them, making the two parts of the whole. Me raised her hands and put them together. Real marriage, Billy, Jessica said in a dreamy voice. Me looked over to the doorway with wide eyes. Ask the question, me. Ask the question, me and Lee said at the same time. Billy shot a panicked stare at Lisa, who looked back at Billy, shocked. Billy put a hand palm up, and Lisa recoiled. Billy put his other hand palm up, and Lisa calmed down. I'd like to apply my paradox veto ability here and rectify whatever trap we've fallen into, Jessica said, trying to sound calculated. Lisa watched wide-eyed as me made a pleading look in Jessica's direction. How many times can intuitions form together? Lisa asked, sounding like she figured out the puzzle. Billy looked pleadingly to Lee and then me. Me shook her head. Theoretically, until there's only one, me answered in a toneless voice. So we really are just times interacting with each other? Jessica asked. Who is the one? Lisa demanded over Jessica's question. The royal you, Billy answered. I've been in the stars, me, and it's just a high state. I've been in the stars, me, and it's just a higher state of awareness. It's spread out over time and bodies. So we're supposedly the same awareness in different bodies? Lisa asked Billy. Different times, in a space where time is divided up so that it can interact with itself, Jessica said. Time and frequency as the two parts of the whole, Me said, looking at Lee. Shit, so not only can the intuitions form together, but also the locations? Billy asked, looking at me. Is this Earth? Billy asked, as a more important question than the previous rhetorical. This is Earth, but a different time and frequency, Lee answered Billy. Everything, including frequency and time, can be collapsed into one thing. It's all connected, Me added. So, why are we still here if we know all of this? Lisa asked, sounding frustrated. We are each still ourselves, Jessica said plainly. She squinted her eyes and looked at me and Lee like a scolding teacher. Does the royal you as a whole of two parts, frequency and time, ever lose self-awareness? No, me and Lee answered together in their toneless voice. I knew I smelt a paradox, Jessica said, leaning back and stretching. So this two-part equation is really missing the point of relative self-awareness. Billy stood up and watched as Jessica turned the wheel, kicking the conversation through the paradox. You're amazing, Jessica, Billy said with his mouth open. He looked to Lisa and Lee. Where do the differences root from? Billy asked. They root from the paradox of division coming from a whole that cannot be divided, Lee answered. We each are what happens when you collapse time and frequency. That's why we are still ourselves. We are in division from ourselves that cannot be divided. All is self, Billy said as if reflecting on a fond memory. The royal you is the key, Me said, giving Billy a reassuring pat on the arm. There was a resetting pause. Jessica walked towards her booth in the flaming coffee shop. She sat down and seemed to take a breath. Billy, me, Lisa, and Lee were still watching each other by the doorway. Jessica manifested her intuition. A small Vantablack boy in a rainbow tunic sat across from Jessica. Hi, we would say welcome, but we already know you, because you're me, Jessica said, turning away from the boy and towards me and the doorway. Me was taller, with longer hair. Will you keep growing and changing each time? Lisa asked quickly. No, there are only 3 forms. Male, female, and male-female, Lee said, standing to peer at me. I am honored to witness this. He bowed his Vantablack head. Should we feel different right now? Billy asked Jessica and me. He looked from Jessica to me, and Jessica did the same. It worked because there is no difference right now, Me said in a toneless voice. Me looked at Billy and Jessica in the eyes with a prideful smile. Wait till they see me now, Me said. Lisa covered her eyes with her arm and waved her head back and forth. Lee comforted her. You fuckers had to do that in front of me. So fucking cute, Lisa said while wiping tears from her face. Can't we get on with the show? I'm sure Rick will be ready to make a male-female after seeing me. Let's go get to it, Lisa said, standing and moving her chair away from the door. Now that we are connected, I can use my body and still be here for self-reflection, can I? Jessica asked, sounding weary. Yes, in self-reflection I will be able to connect your doors, even in your flaming body time. You will be able to communicate through me, Me said, smiling at Billy and Jessica. But your lips probably won't move like mine, Me added. This also means that I am you, Billy. Our love? Jessica asked Billy. Don't you love yourself? Billy asked Jessica. All is self, Jessica said. Royal fuck you. Let me out of here, you goddamn loved birds. This is sick, Lisa almost screamed. Lee laughed at her and waved goodbye as he slowly closed the door. Wait, Lee. Wait, Lee will be back. Lee will be able to find Rick, and when you do, he will know we sent you because you will overpower his will. When that happens, he will tell the souls he's consumed. When that happens, he will tell the souls he's consumed about their intuitions and release them, Billy said at the shrinking crack in the door. The door stopped moving, and Billy continued. When that happens, there will be a lot of available flaming people who understand immortality. But Rick has a personal history with us, and it would be nice to see him make progress, Billy said quickly. Say what you need to say, Lisa screamed from behind the door. Rick's a sociopath, darling, Jessica said. Okay, Lisa said. The door closed and became a light that faded away into the darkness. Billy looked at me and Jessica standing together. Me's head came up to Jessica's nose. Me was still wearing a rainbow tunic with a golden rope, and Me was still Fanta Black. Me's hair was a shoulder-length tangle of curly, ropey cords that swayed like dreadlocks. You look like you play an obscure college sport, Billy said, looking sideways at me. Collegiate athletes do aspire to look like me, yes, Me responded with a smile. Jessica laughed and invited them to sit at the booth. We've got to strategize for the war, darlings, Jessica said with her coffee in hand. You are me, Billy said to Jessica as he sat down across from her. We're all Me said. Me cuddled next to Jessica in the booth. Ask all the good questions, y'all, Me said. How are people going to react to seeing you out there? Jessica asked. The war will continue and there will be a rise of red skeletons, Me said, lifting an arm in an arc. Our unification will be met with further division among the uninitiated. We brought God, or the devil rather, to hell, Billy said, thinking aloud. And with it, demons, he finished. Jesus also went to hell. Maybe for some we brought Jesus, the Savior of souls, Jessica said. Jessica retorted. She paused. And the red skeleton angels. You have unified yourselves and alienated others, Me said in a toneless voice. It was a heavy statement that Billy and Jessica took a pause to weigh in. What emotions do the red skeletons carry with them? Billy asked while making eye contact with me. They carry with them the internal flame of immortality, Me answered him. So the red skeletons are our army? Jessica asked, sounding innocent. They are quite the army, Me answered. Allegiance is a relative decision, Me finished. Billy put his hands on his head and thought aloud. Okay, so no matter what, there will be a hierarchy and new zealous race. So no matter what, there will be a hierarchy and a new zealous race of immortal skeletons. Depending on what we do as a unit, the immortals will see us as a devil or a Jesus. Billy took a pause. And we're not alone, Billy said, feeling the feeling of revelation. With the rise of red skeletons comes potential for another Jesus or devil in Lisa and Rick. Billy looked to Jessica and me. Would it be so hard to convince their male-female to join with ours? Jessica asked reassuringly.